Thank you and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. We're talking to Alana McLaughlin, and she's given us some information in reference to the Russian Revolution. Alana, let's see if we might be able to pick up where we left off during the second segment to give you an opportunity to perhaps look at the Russian Revolution, the promise of equality as promised in communism, and then perhaps say something in reference to the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths and et cetera, that kind of thing. Talk about it from that perspective.
Now, in the last segment, we compared the Soviet Union to how the United States is, and we talked about how the things that they implemented in Russia from 1922 to 1991 wouldn't really work in the United States. And here's another reason for that. Communism, which was very prevalent in Russia and, Moscow, was, it was based on the word community, communism, community, which is all men are equal, all men should share, things like that. Now, America, we have the 14th, 15th, and 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments that basically talk about African American rights, because there wasn't really a time where Caucasians, their rights were taken away. It was basically black people. And so, in talking about communism and all that, they wanted other people to be equal and share. We couldn't implement that in America because we went through slavery for 300 years. People weren't equal for 300 years, and only after slavery did we start to think about, oh, well, can black people vote? Can black people, have basic human rights? Can we give those back to them? And eventually those were given back to us due to the Constitution. But as I said in the last segment, United States citizens are known for not really implementing those Constitution-like rights. Like, for instance, I mentioned how African Americans do have the right to go vote, but you'll still hear plenty of stories about predominantly black voting centers getting burned down because of white supremacists don't want black people voting. And it makes you think, are we back in the 1800s where black people couldn't walk outside without issues from white people, or just from any other race that felt that they were above African Americans due to the color of our skin? And that's something that really makes you think, what if America tried to implement something like that? Would we have not gone through slavery? Would the Constitution be written like how it is? Would women have rights? Because, women got rights and that's crazy. Well, it's not crazy that women got rights. It's crazy that women had to be given rights. It's crazy how men think that they're above women just because of maybe stature.
They are men. Because they're men.
Mm-hmm. And it's crazy how white people or other races think they're above African Americans because they're white. And so that's a lot of things that happen in Russia. If you try to compare them to the United States, it wouldn't really fit. Like a puzzle, it wouldn't fit together because it wouldn't work. America wouldn't go for something like that. If we got a president and he tried to instill communism and all that, everybody would be like, equal, I'm not equal to this black person, or I'm not equal to this woman or child. It would be lots of issues.
Let's end this, Lana, over the next 6 minutes by taking thought of something that I learned quite early in college, and that was the Declaration of Independence. And I think in a real sense, what makes Soviet communism and the United States democracy different is because of what? The Declaration of Independence, which is a promise that is made, that is kept consistently in American history, even during the time when slavery existed. When Thomas Jefferson wrote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and they are what? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Now, whatever has occurred in the United States of America, we have not moved away from the doctrine of what? Universal right, or what? The Declaration of Independence. Now, in the Soviet Union, when that was declared in 1917 during the Communist Revolution as this idea of equality, there was nothing that they could base that idea of equality in communism, and especially on this whole concept of the Declaration of Independence. There is no Declaration of Independence to the degree that in the Soviet Union as there is in the United States. And I think that in a real sense, that's one of the great differences dealing with the Russian Revolution and the American Revolution. What do you think about that as a statement?
Well, the Russians, like you said, they didn't have a lot of weight to back up communism. They just kind of said, well, all people are equal. They didn't have anything implemented into government to say that all these people were equal. They didn't have any declarations and stuff like the United States, like America has. We had, as you said, the Declaration of Independence, which says, all men are equal, are born equal. We have writings to back this up. We have laws to back this up. The government implemented this. And though the government did implement this, the citizens still have yet to implement this. Now, for a good deal, most hate crimes and stuff, the rate has gone down since, say, segregation in the early 1900s. But the fact that you still hear about hate crimes means that not all American citizens are really keen on equality or keen on that everyone is equal. Because if everyone was equal, we still wouldn't be having hate groups like the Ku Klux Klan or white supremacist groups or LGBTQ plus hate groups, things like that. We haven't really begun to understand that people are equal. Yes, it's written down, but do you believe it? Because something could be in writing, but you still won't abide by it. Rules, almost. We have laws that people break every day. And so it takes time for you to implement this, but I hope that soon American citizens start to wake up and smell the roses and start to implement these rights, because they weren't written for no reason. They were written so that we can implement what these founding fathers wanted: independence and equality and things of the sort.
A final thought in reference to this. I think we can also say that the United States has had a longer period of time in working out its opportunities toward equality with the Declaration of Independence. They had to overcome 300 years
of slavery.
Now, in Russia, there was no slavery as such, but there was what was known as serfdom. And so each nation has had to work the ideas of equality out, from serfdom through the Communist Revolution, through communism, from slavery to democracy to the Declaration of Independence, all of them coming together to indicate that while both of these two great countries talk about equality, the United States has a stronger hold on this idea of equality and equal rights than any other country in the world. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that, because that's why America has their name, land of the free, because we do have lots of things implemented so that people can have their freedom, and so that if someone tries to take away that freedom, proper measures can be taken to punish that person. And so America does have the strongest hold on independence and slavery for their people. I think that we are a country that tries to let people get equal rights and stuff, but no country will be perfect. Not everyone will see that everyone is equal, but the American government does usually see that everyone is equal and independent, has the right to vote, the right to bear arms, the right to do what they want.
There's a more conscious, a final statement we might make, there's a more conscious understanding of Americans working toward equality,
than
even
any
though
other country.
It might not be recognized or realized that there's always this effort to move toward equality, much so more than any other country in the world. And I think that with that statement, I can thank you for bringing by that excellent information this morning, and to know that you have really given me encouragement in terms of some of the things that you've said. And we hope to be able to certainly talk about this again, but now we have to call this in for the day. And so let me encourage our audience to tune in again next week to another informative edition of Comments. Thank you.